So therefore, there are these bunch of components, sitting in the shop floor, and they are throwing the data
Yeah.
from the sensors to the PLCs to the SCADA systems, and then they get into some kind of a server, and they remain as raw data, and that's really how this whole data gets collected. So when you look at a digital factory,
Yeah.
I think very interesting data point that I read was most companies are moving into becoming digital factories, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they, like what you talked about Moderna, right? Basically, it takes a couple of hours to produce a vaccine. So real digital transformation has to happen if manufacturing needs to get digitally connected. And
Mhm.
so therefore, my question is, in the digital factory, how do you define, if you want to become a digital factory, what are the steps that you need to take to say, okay, how do I define maturity of a digital factory, and
Yeah.
how do I then move from one level to the other, and how do you really think through this? Because there are components that are, if I go to Amazon cloud, they say I also have a manufacturing cloud, and then you can
Yeah.
get in there, kind of a thing. So what are the key components for this digital factory becoming really valuable to an enterprise?
Yeah. That gets into the heart of the digital factory. That question right there. This is where the when you go into any factory these days, they are somewhat connected. They're collecting data. You're hardly going to see any modern factory. The sensors are you're not going. They're already there. It's not like they don't have anything. There is some resemblance of a digital factories there.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, to do a digital factory, the process I'm familiar with, and most people will follow, is there are some tools available, digital tools, industries, digital plan maturity, matrix, and some tools are available. They are Excel spreadsheet based, and there's even some software tools are available. And they give you a template of questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
The pharma industry, for example, uses a tool from that's recommended by ISP, is International Society of Pharma Engineering, and a few of these trade groups. They have defined these tools and say this is how a pharma industry should look like. And so these tools are available, so you could use them. But at the end of the day, each tool has to be personalized a little bit to the industry, to the company, and that's where an assessment comes into play. Employing someone like me or someone with my background and experience, there are several consulting companies. They do this kind of work. McKinsey does it. Pricewaterhouse does it. Yeah, pretty much every consulting company, they have a practice now to come in and help you with the assessment of where you are in the maturity index, and they will compare you to your peer groups, and you can also even compare to other industries. From automotive, you can compare to pharma and things like that, vice versa, and you can benchmark yourself. And so you can do that, and that takes 3 to 6 months of assessment at the beginning. That kind of helps you to level set where you are in your digital maturity.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a scale 1 to 5. So you can put yourself in, typically I tell for most companies, you're either around 2. That's my experience when you go through this assessment. But that index or that score comes based on these tools that you can use to do assessment. So that's the first step. That's very important. And then based on this assessment, you do want to have heart-to-heart discussion with your leadership team and say, look, where do you want to go? What are you trying to do? What is the business case? What do you want to do digital? Is it because you want to be number one in your industry, or are you losing money? Or you're, that's the real. You got to spend some time coming up with a vision for the company, what the digital vision is going to look like. And someone may come in and say, well, I want lights out manufacturing for every plant. But that's not realistic. And you got to have a pragmatic view of, okay, yeah, that lights out vision is what we want, and that may be 5 years, 10 years from now. That's what we're going to be. So some sort of a vision like that, you can define it, and then what can I do in the short term, next to 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? What are the things I need to do? That's a roadmap you want to build next. And a lot of companies, they go company wide. Every site, they're going to do some level 1 type work on that roadmap. Some companies, they go take a pilot plan. They call it lighthouse projects. And they take one plant that maybe are close to where they are in their digital maturity, and they say we are going to do these 4 or 5 different things. We're going to set up we're going to collect some data, or maybe we're already collecting data. We're going to build some dashboards that converts the raw data into actionable information that the sites can use. So those are some of the projects you come up with. And typically companies do proof of concept pilot at one site, and then, make sure everything works the way you like it. And then maybe try to lean it out, use some agile methodologies, and build some playbooks. And then you can give it to every site and tell them to go implement it. So there's a lot of different ways to build that roadmap. So that's a typical process. So when you're doing that, we also have to have good assessment and also good report back to your leadership. And the key in this whole process is the buy-in from the highest level of the company, CEO on down. So
here Sridhar talks about mixing pragmatism with innovative thinking and balancing it with business realities. That's really how I think most often innovative ideas such as building a digital factory, getting into transformative work like digital takes shape. What I believe he's saying and is very important is there are tools and tools and tools, but there is a need to customize it to your environment, your business challenges, and your objective of where do you want to be. A tool cannot take you to where you want to go. It's important to know where you want to go, and a tool is a catalyst. So when you're looking at something like a digital factory, the important point that he makes here is the fact that your vision, your leadership buying into the philosophy of lights out manufacturing, looking at profitability. So the business issue comes to the fore. So if you're an engineer having access to the best of the technologies, the fact that you need to put it back into how a business looks at the problem and therefore connect it back to any of the technologies that you have, and therefore which of these tech platforms, which of these tech solutions, in this case it could be a SCADA system, it could be something that is a PLC that's connected to machines, there's a lot of disparate data that's available. What's important is to have a clarity on where do you want to go, and then apply a digital transformation process and a roadmap. And that, I think, will make it extremely successful.